My God. Welcome. Join the sell-off party as Bitcoin on the 5-minute has taken an absolute massive dump from a swing high of 91.3 down to current 85.8 and dropping. Now remember, these are 5-minute candles, and almost every single candle has been a liquidation candle, as you can see here. As they are hollowed out, you have RSI on the 5-minute hitting oversold. On the hourly, we're about to hit oversold. And I bet on the 30-minute, it probably is already oversold, which, yes, it is. Currently sitting at 26.89 for BTC. Now, you might be wondering, what in God's green earth is going on? I thought we got some bullish news. I'll tell you exactly what is going on. To all of you, welcome in. I'm David. I'll be your host for today. We strictly focus on TA and FA on cryptocurrencies. All right. If you're wondering what the hell's going on, why is Bitcoin dumping? To what some believe would have been positive news, actually ended up apparently being really bad news. And that is the official signing of the first ever Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. With that being said, let's listen to President Donald Trump announcing his executive order and the creation of the first ever Bitcoin Strategic Reserve.
Today we're signing, this is very historic, an executive order establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve and digital asset stockpile. This is a promise that you made throughout the campaign, and today we're keeping that promise. The reserve will be capitalized with Bitcoin that the federal government already owns, so it won't cost taxpayers a dime. This is like a digital Fort Knox for digital gold. And premature sales of Bitcoin over the past years cost American taxpayers over $17 billion in lost value, because we didn't have a long-term strategy.
Right.
Now we do. So.
And this is something you believe in fully?
100%, yeah.
Okay.
And the whole community believes in it.
Very good. And they made the promise, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Now, typically when he signs, he says, wow, look at that beautiful signature. Is the market dumping because he didn't say that? No, all jokes aside, this is exactly why the markets are dumping. I'll read this by David Sachs, and then I'll kind of give my thoughts. And we'll take a look at, this is exactly what I kind of forecasted for this week to our Patreon members. Anyways, David Sachs, the AI and crypto czar. Actually, let me get rid of these. Just a few minutes ago, President Trump signed an executive order to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve. The reserve will be capitalized with Bitcoin owned by the federal government that was forfeited as part of criminal or civil asset forfeiture proceedings. This means it will not cost taxpayers a dime. It is estimated that the U.S. government owns about 200,000 Bitcoin. However, there has never been a complete audit. The executive order directs a full accounting of the federal government's digital asset holdings. The U.S. will not sell any Bitcoin deposited into the reserve. It will be kept as a store of value. The reserve is like a digital Fort Knox for the cryptocurrency, often called digital gold. Premature sales of Bitcoin have already cost U.S. taxpayers over $17 billion in lost value. Now, the federal government will have a strategy to maximize the value of its holdings. The Secretaries of Treasury and Commerce are authorized to develop budget-neutral strategies for acquiring additional Bitcoin, provided that those strategies have no incremental cost on American taxpayers. Okay? In addition, the executive order establishes a U.S. digital asset stockpile consisting of digital assets other than Bitcoin forfeited in criminal or civil proceedings. Here's where it is. The government will not acquire additional assets for the stockpile beyond those obtained through forfeiture proceedings. The purpose of the stockpile is responsible stewardship of the government's digital assets under the Treasury Department. Promises made, promises kept. President Trump promised to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve and digital asset stockpile. These promises have been kept. The EO underscores his commitment to making the U.S. the crypto capital of the world. Talking about, I want to thank this person, thank that person, and thank everyone except the price of BTC. Now, why is it dumping? I'll tell you exactly why it's dumping. Everyone assumed and thought the strategic reserve would mean the U.S. would become net buyers of Bitcoin. What this EO is saying, and what we saw with this statement, is, in fact, the U.S. will not be buying Bitcoin. In fact, they will not be buying anything, whether it's for the sovereign wealth fund or for the digital asset stockpile. They're simply going to take what they already have, stick it in there, and not touch it. Now, that is exactly why, in my opinion, unless you guys have another thesis, why Bitcoin dropped so sharply, is because everyone was expecting, and part of it was priced in to some extent, that the U.S. would begin buying Bitcoin for the strategic reserve. Now that we know they're not going to be buying Bitcoin, they're just going to take what they already have and just be like, yeah, we got a strategic reserve, which I think should have been done either way. As of right now, they are not going to be buying any crypto, including Bitcoin. And you can see how the markets reacted. We dropped from 91,000. We dropped 7% in 35 minutes. 7% in 35 minutes. And so we talked about volatility, either to the upside or to the downside. And this is not what the markets wanted. This is not what they wanted to hear. And this is the post I was referencing to our Patreon members. So those of you that are part of our Patreon, thank you very much for being patrons of this channel. And also, hopefully you guys heeded some of this advice that was in here. Talking about this week has been a roller coaster. The volatility, I believe, will at the very least continue or maybe even expand. Talking about some key factors here. And then, of course, with Trump in office, there's an element of surprise. And so I talked about, at this time, the best strategy to play into is to find your value zones for Bitcoin and alts on your radar and DCA into these areas when we get big swings to the downside. This doesn't mean we stop trading, but become more selective in the trades we take and levels we identify using higher time frames. March will be a rocky month, both to the upside and downside, but I think heading into Q2, we should see a clearer picture of where we end up in November and December. We are currently about to break below $85,000. Now, some key levels that I have out here for BTC. We've lost that pocket between 86 and 86.5. Now, of course, this is on the daily candle, so we could get a reversal. And this could just end up being a nasty wick, but I don't think that's going to happen. The next very important key level is 84,125. Will that hold? If that doesn't hold, we're going straight to 82. And then do we get another wick? Now, we are getting close to my Bitcoin value area, which is between 75.1 and 76.9. I don't know if we'll get there. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. But either way, that is just what we're seeing. And again, with the volatility in the markets. And here's one thing we also talked about. If you guys remember yesterday, we talked about this rising wedge for BTC and how they typically break to the downside. And well, we typically broke to the downside. So that pattern played out. And the near setup was actually looking really, really good. We talked about this setup on near protocol on the daily. I believe it was a daily. Yeah, it was a daily, right? We talked about a break above this trend line, confirmed retest, and then we started trending up. We even got to as high as $3.23. And then, of course, the markets completely turned with Bitcoin leading the way. I saw a comment in the chat. This is a bipolar market. I agree. It's just so much shit going on. But let me tell you something, man. Once this volatility gets shaken out, once we start seeing some more things start to settle, the whole tariff thing, prices start coming down, whatever that looks like for macro investors to feel like they can go risk on, Bitcoin is going to absolutely explode, absolutely explode. So what we're seeing now is a repricing of the strategic reserve. Part of the rallies up to those, and I believe up to that 92, 92.5, we even had that rally up to around 94,000, was in anticipation of the reserve, with a lot of traders and people expecting the U.S. to become net buyers. Now that that is not played out, we're seeing a repricing of where traders believe the fair value with current macro conditions is for BTC. How low will it go? Again, we can simply, using that thesis and theory, we can zoom in or zoom out to the 6 hour, and we can take a look at, okay, where did Bitcoin spend a decent amount of time? Going back to February of last year, not last year, last week, or February 28th, okay? So last Friday, we saw Bitcoin trade between 84.5 and around 85.9, and so we had that big breakout. And so that would be my first level, again, that I would expect Bitcoin to catch some support between 84,125 and $86,000. And so 84.1, that's going to be the first level I have my eye on. But again, when we see with cascading liquidations, as you can see here from CoinGlass, $185 million in the last 1 hour has been liquidated from the crypto markets, with 173 million of that being in longs, obviously. So if you do the math, 200 million times 24, right? 24 hours in a day, we're on pace for a lot of, but obviously I don't feel like this pace is going to keep up. We'll see again where Bitcoin settles. So welcome in. I know usually I have a little more of a welcome, hello, how you guys doing? But we come in here, Bitcoin's drowning. It's looking for that lifeboat. And yeah, so peeking in the chat here. If you're new, say hello, welcome again. My name is David. Shout out to those of you that came in early. Triangle, Dr. Feelgood. I think my new favorite name here, Government Bowel Movement Tracker. Paul Wood, Vinny Del Greco said, what did Vinny say? Or bust. So tired of this garbage or bust. Po Man, welcome in, brother. What's going on, my friend? Flat Smack, Jesse Oro, The Hound, Jay Violet. I think Jay Violet, we're like 5 shows away from making you a mod. Appreciate you being in here. Ricky Romero. Chance, what's up, Chance? How you doing, brother? Haven't seen you in here. David Sachs' mom is selling. Potentially. I'm curious, did that hyperliquid whale, did he have another long trade or another short on Bitcoin in? We saw what happened with the 50x long on ETH and Bitcoin, literally less than 24 hours before the market started rallying off of the news of the crypto summit. And so that's kind of where we are. A1 said the states will vote to buy Bitcoin, and that's what some could be missing. Potentially, yes, A1. We saw that the legislative branch in Texas, that Bitcoin bill passed the Senate. Now it goes to the House for the final vote. If that goes into place, Texas will become the very first state in the U.S. to create a Bitcoin strategic reserve, which to my understanding, and actually I'm going to look into this, does Texas have any Bitcoin? Does Texas have any Bitcoin? Texas moving closer to the store of Bitcoin. However, no state has yet established a reserve. Okay, but does Texas, through forfeiture, any Bitcoin through forfeiture? Let's see. So I'm not seeing anything as far as if maybe there was a case in Texas to where they saw, they were able to get some Bitcoin through legal means, right? And so, yeah, it looks like we're seeing maybe a little bit of a rebound here for BTC. Let's zoom into the 30-minute chart here. You can see those large liquidation candles again. Oversold on the 30-minute. We came into this head and shoulders pattern on the 30-minute again, which is actually playing out right. You have your shoulder, you have your head, you have your shoulder, and then we kind of have, our neckline is here. And then we came and we fell right through. So on the way up, I would expect a retest of around 88,200. Now, of course, it's on the lower time frame. And so it means a lot less than when you go to higher time frames. And so I'm just kind of looking at the chart, looking at the RSI. Do we have any hidden bullish divergence? No, we don't on the 30-minute. On the 1 hour, again, we were starting to have this nice V-shaped recovery until that news broke today. And so I'm curious now with what we've seen in the price of Bitcoin and how the markets have reacted to the strategic reserve not being a net buying opportunity for the United States government, what tomorrow will be. So the interesting thing here is assuming the 2 biggest announcements for tomorrow was going to be 1, what's going to go in the reserve. 2, we're going to create the reserve and sign it. He's done those 2 things before the meeting tomorrow. And so the whole idea of, and I know Drew from Blockchain Basement, and I don't know if he's watching. Drew, if you're watching, I think your thesis of tomorrow we get a pump due to what they're going to do. I think a lot of us were expecting, again, the strategic reserve to be signed tomorrow at some point, or some news to come out. Now that it's been done, realistically, what could they talk about tomorrow that could push this price into a reversal back up to an uptrend, right? Could it be capital gains tax? Maybe. Who knows? But either way, super volatile markets right now. Let's take a look at the rest of the cryptocurrency markets. As you can see, the market overall is down 4.5%, under 3 trillion in total market cap. Your biggest losers over the 1 hour are Cardano getting clobbered, down 9% on the 1 hour, as Bitcoin is holding on to dear life at that 85K level, currently trading at 85,044. We take a look at ADA. We zoom into the 5-minute on ADA. This thing also took a massive dump, obviously, as everything has. But a lot of it had to do with ADA's pump was, one, Charles Hoskinson coming in here, going into that White House meeting. The other one was ADA being in the reserve. And it looks like that is not going to be happening anymore, at least for Cardano, or whether it's going to be, it's just going to be whatever seized Cardano that the government has that they're just going to use for that stockpile. And for ADA, the key levels we have here, one of them we're currently at, which is 81.5 cents. This is a key area of resistance until we flipped it to support. And you can see here previously when we were down here, essentially you have pretty much a head and shoulders on literally everything. This might be a little bit of a Bart Simpson pattern, but we saw some consolidation around this 81.53 cent level. But previously, prior to that, this was a big level of resistance for ADA. We sold off, had that massive spike in price, that 72% rally in one single day. We blew through not just the 81.5 cent resistance level, but also the next big one, which let's just call it $1, 98.56 cents. And so if we can catch some support at 81.53, we can see Cardano potentially rally back up to that 92 cent level. Let's see if we have any large order blocks. So we do have one big order block sitting between 78 and 80 cents even. We had around 24% of all trading happening at this price region. And the last time price got down here was back on Tuesday, March 4th, so this past Tuesday, and ADA rallied 30%. Could we see something similar? Potentially, but I think it's going to matter, or what's going to matter a lot is what Bitcoin does, and it is still above 85K, which is good. Other big losers on the 1 hour, XRP down 7.8%. Ondo, I saw, was also taking a pretty big beating. Super bullish on Ondo from a fundamental standpoint, also super bullish on Ondo and everything, but here we had a rising wedge again, or a rising channel that broke to the downside, right? So to keep things simple, whatever rises, or you can call this a megaphone or whatever the hell you want to call it, but a parallel channel that was rising. Anything that rises breaks to the downside. Anything that trends down typically breaks to the upside. And you had this, we saw that breakout to the downside. Now we do have one big order box on the 1 hour for Ondo, by the way. Around 6.6 million Ondo was traded between 95.6 and 97.3 cents, which that is that we had some confluence there with our trend line with this order block, and then the price reacted positively. I do expect our first stop, if we do continue to trend down, to be right around 97 cents for Ondo. If we zoom out to the 4 hour chart, you can see even how much clearer. And just, this is a pretty nice channel here, right? Like perfectly, like one wick above, and that's it. And then a clean breakthrough below. And so our previous week low is 87.7 cents. If we do fall through that 97 cent level, expect to catch some support of Ondo at that 87 cents. And on the larger time frame, if we zoom into the daily, Ondo's chart was starting to look pretty good, right? We had that big breakout of this trend line. Let me get rid of this. Let's see where we're at with our MA. So we're currently right at our 200-day MA ribbon, okay? So you saw we broke below, chop, chop, reclaimed, gave it all back. We had the spinning top here, which signified indecision in the markets. And we are currently trading at our open of the 200-day moving average. And so if this doesn't hold, expect to see again 97 and 95 cents. If not, we're going down to 87 cents. And then some of the other big losers on the 24 hour, Kronos is up actually. What the hell's going on with Kronos? Sonic down. Sonic might be, let's take a look at a Sonic chart. Actually, got to take a look at a Phantom chart because we have more data on Phantom because Sonic was a new coin. Okay. So for Sonic, we had a value area between 47.9 and 58 cents. And I told you guys, if we get Sonic back at these levels, and we are currently trading below the 200-day moving average ribbon, this would be an excellent area to pick up Sonic. I got a lot of people hitting me up talking about at 90 cents, at 87 cents, Phantom, Sonic, I've tried it, it's so fast, I want to buy some. I'm like, oh, it just had a rally from 38 to 98 cents, almost a 3x, 2.5x. I would wait for a pullback, and we are getting that pullback right into our value area for Sonic. And so this is what I meant in this post. If you had Sonic on your short list of altcoins you want to accumulate, find your value areas, and when we get those big swings, that is when you open your positions. That is where you add to your bags. And so that is where we are now. You want rock bottom prices? 48.18 cents. We're 2 pennies away. And this would have been a really, really nice setup. This would have been an excellent setup for a beautiful cup and handle pattern breaking out. I mean, it was a setup. Was I looking at the lower time frame on this one? I could have swore. Was that a different chart? Could have swore I saw a cup and handle pattern that didn't break out. Maybe I'm seeing things and I was looking at a different chart. Either way, we had a breakout of that cup and handle pattern on Phantom. And this is on the 3 hour. This is on the, yeah, I guess I was looking at a different chart. I got my charts all mixed up. But either way, that's what I was seeing. Okay. So you had a mini cup and handle pattern here, right? You had your mini broke, but then you were coming into an even bigger one, right? A cup and handle within a cup and handle. And then we were starting to get that breakout, and then everything just kind of fell by the wayside. So, all right, I'm going to take a quick peek at the chat. We have 40 people watching. Make sure you guys hit the like button. Also, if you're new here, say hello. I'd love to welcome you personally. If there's anything you'd like me to take a look at, any thoughts about the markets, I encourage every single person in here to be active, ask questions, share your thoughts, your ideas. And so, if we still see Bitcoin continuing to drop, I'll be more than happy to stay on the stream for as long as necessary. But one thing I will ask of the people watching is stay active, conversate, questions, commentary, whatever you'd like. Just make sure you're active and also hit the like button. What are your guys' thoughts on what we're seeing in the market? I am curious. I know there's some people that have been, this is their, maybe second or third cycle. Maybe this is your first cycle. What are your thoughts? Yeah. JW3 said crypto audits will add to the reserve. I don't know about that, dude. I don't know. I see some calling for a pullback. They could happen. The TA showed 83 to 81 and even to 75. Yeah, I mean, just look at these levels that I had mapped out, right? Our first box here, the red one, was between, and this is a big one. It's a big box, right? 71.9 and 82.1. So we just take the top end of that 82.1. The next one was 84.125, which is right here. Okay, that's the level I believe are going to catch some support. You also have confluence with our moving average ribbon, our 200-day moving average ribbon, right at that 84.125 level. But if the markets decide that we want to send Bitcoin lower, and people, I don't know, part of me wants to think that as people digest the news, they'll start to realize that by the US government essentially creating this reserve and talking about and committing to not selling the 200,000 Bitcoin that they already have, I think that's pretty bullish. Obviously not as bullish as, hey, we created the reserve. We are going to start buying 5,000 Bitcoin every single Friday from here until the next 5 years. Obviously, that would have been ultra bullish. We would have seen Bitcoin's price get to 100K. I truly believe so. But the one thing I want to kind of put out there, I want you guys to understand something. Now, I'm not a political expert, but I understand enough to know that an executive order, if the Republicans lose in the midterms, or if they lose, more importantly, the White House, the next president can come in, and if they're not pro-Bitcoin, they can come in and rescind that executive order that Trump just signed. And now they can say, you know what? Yeah, we're going to rescind that. We're actually going to start selling the Bitcoin we have. if you want long lasting, essentially the US government not selling Bitcoin and becoming net buyers, you need to get it through Congress. And so they know they got 2 years, less than 2 years, about a year and a half until the midterms in 2020. Next year, the midterms start, 2026. And so, and then 2027, we'll get the new members that were voted in. And who knows? Could we get more Dems that come in there? Not even Dems, but could we get more anti-crypto people? Maybe people that are not as bullish on Bitcoin and that won't see this as a pressing issue to pass legislation to actually create and start buying Bitcoin for the strategic reserve. So that is what you want to see, because executive orders can be completely rescinded once the new administration comes in, and then all this was for nothing. Cool, we held the 200,000 Bitcoin we have. Awesome, great. In 4 years, yeah, we're going to be selling our 200,000 Bitcoin. We need to pay off this, this, and this, or I don't know, a catastrophe happens or another, natural disaster event, and we could use that. So you just never know. And so to me, an EO was never the big bull news. I wanted legislation, because if you pass legislation, you get the House to put a budget aside to add Bitcoin, to buy Bitcoin. As of right now, they can't spend any money to buy it. So their next best option is to say, hey, we'll take what we got and then we'll just not sell it. Cool. We were already expecting that anyways, which again, I believe why the markets are dropping. Hyperliquid down to $15. Hyperliquid is interesting at $15 for me. Now, as far as the chart, there's not a lot of historical price action because Hyperliquid is fairly new. This is on the daily. I guess we have some going back to December of last year. And so, I mean, if I'm sitting here and if you're looking at, we'll just keep it on the daily, right? You guys know what I like to do. I like to identify value areas. And the first one would be, the only one really is here before our massive breakout. We saw Hyperliquid enter the markets at $9.87. This is according to the KuCoin chart. And then we saw the initial pullback stopped at $12.36. And then we had that massive rally. And so that is kind of where we're trending. And that is where we are now. Let me drop some flags here so you guys can see. So the lower end of this value area is $12.56. The higher area here is $14.65. So we're almost there. We did get there on the wick. Now if we zoom into the 1 hour, we can see price is currently trading below the 200-day moving average, which is bearish, obviously. We get rid of our MA bands and we throw on our, I already know that's going to be negative. Let's throw on our Lux Algo price action concepts. Take a look. Was there any significant buying, selling, any order blocks, any? Nah, we fell through. This was the big one here. This is the big one. We had net like 6-to-1 buyers versus sellers, and price just completely fell through. We did get a bearish break of structure on this Hyperliquid chart, but again, we're in the discount zone, currently at the previous day low, and we're right at our value area that we've identified for Hyperliquid. And so this is another project that a lot of people, when it came out, they were excited about, they wanted to buy, and they were just waiting for a good entry. Well, now looks like is a pretty good damn entry. How much lower do you want to wait? So yeah, Hyperliquid is an interesting one. DeFi, got a lot of users, a lot of hype. They get stuff listed extremely quickly. And if you guys remember, the famed whale who did a 50x leverage, they used Hyperliquid to do that. So Space said, seems like manipulation to me. I don't think so, man. I really don't. I honestly think, and let me take a sip and I'll kind of explain to you. Here's what investors and traders and markets do, okay? They take a piece of news or an event coming up and they break it down and they try to figure out, okay, what is going to happen? How's it going to influence the markets? Then they start placing their bets a week, a day, 2 weeks, 2 days, a month early. You'll start seeing a rally or a drawdown if it's negative news they're expecting. So by the time the event is actually happening, the bullish price action is already baked in. And so the only way you get another run on top of the run you already had is if the press conference or the news or the legislation or whatever they're betting on, if it over delivers on their expectations, then you get another rally. If it doesn't, and it is what they expect, then they've made their money on the way up and they're selling when the news actually happens. You have the buy the rumor, sell the news event. So that's what's happening. When we saw Bitcoin run up in December, January of last year for the ETF, why? Let's take a look at that chart. Okay. Bitcoin recovering a little bit, $86,179. Seeing a little bit of a relief rally here. Be careful though on the 5-minute. When you start seeing these, we start getting lots of bear flags start to form, which do typically break to the downside. But if we zoom out to the daily on BTC, and I'll make this chart as clear as possible, okay? Going back to December here, okay? October of 2023, all right? We're trading around $27,000. And you know what? Actually, that's too far back. Let's talk about, let's go to December. The beginning of December, December 1st, Bitcoin was trading at, it opened at $37,600, okay? We start seeing rumblings, Bitcoin ETF, what's happening, and then look what Bitcoin did. The ETF was approved on January 10th, okay? Where's January 10th? It's not there. January 10th is January 10th, okay? This is where Bitcoin was approved. This green line, the ETF was approved. And from December to January 10th, or November to January 10th, you saw Bitcoin go from $35,500 to $48,700. And then what did you see? Immediately after the ETF was actually approved, the rumor, the news, Bitcoin spilled off 19 to 20%. And in about 10 days, we started to rally again as we saw net buyers, the buy pressure come in. This was right before the halving, which happened in May. And so it's the name of the game, my friends. If you're waiting for the day of to enter a position or buy on news, you are too late. You are absolutely too late. You're going to be someone's exit liquidity. And I think that is exactly what we saw. And again, curious to see where we stop. If we get this, I'm going to go to the 4-hour. If we can close above 86.5 on this 4-hour candle, that would be extremely bullish. Extremely bullish. Then on the way back up, I would expect some resistance right at 88.472. 88.479. And then once we break that 92.5 right here, 92.5, if we can break that, maybe consolidate a little bit here and then break above 94, there's really nothing until 100K. And if you guys remember, once we hit 100K, you're going to see a FOMO rally. All the people that were watching Bitcoin as it was up to 108,000 and had another relief rally up to 107 and spent all this time above 100K, and the time it spent above 100K was around 2 weeks. Spent 2 weeks over 100K. Okay, that was between January 16th and February 1st. So a solid 2 weeks of above 100K. And then we saw spill off, consolidation, spill off. Once we get above 100K, this is the psychology of people, and it's so dumb. All right, fine. It withheld through that big dip from $109 to $78,000. Or if we go lower, $72,000, maybe $70,000. And it came back up to 100K. All right, now I feel confident. It's going to get a new all-time high. People start to panic buy Bitcoin, right? You have the FOMO rally. And not to mention 100K is a really nice round number. So, all right, just going to take a peek at the chat here. Smashitoshi Smakamoto said, good night, Irene. Game over. Who's Irene? Is Irene someone in the chat? Verhoofdy Fluffen, Q4 of this year will be totally insane. Yeah, I think Q2 is going to be really, really good. You know, let's see historically how Q2 has been for Bitcoin. Of course, this freaking mouse pad. Come on. There we go. So Q2, we'll go to data, Bitcoin returns, historically, quarter 2. on average has brought us 27% returns for Bitcoin, which is the third highest. Median was 7.38, which is the second highest. And so last year, we went down 12%. So we're seeing everything kind of in reverse, right? In bull markets, we see massive Q1s, right? 2017, it wasn't nearly massive, but it was still green. 2013, green. 2021, doubled. And then 2025, unless you think the top was in 2024, or that was like the bull market and we just had another top here, which I'm not in that camp, we saw negative. If you zoom down here, you look at monthly returns. Bitcoin never closes red in the month of February, outside of 2 times, just 2 times. And I believe February is on average, is the second best month of the entire year when you look at median outside of October, which is 21.2%. October is the most bullish month. February is the second most bullish month. And we had the second worst February since 2013. And so this cycle is doing some weird shit and it's very different. And so Q1, I think it's going to end in the red. Q1, I think it's going to end in the red. I think we do get rallies. We get big pullbacks. But in Q2, come April, May, June, the trade wars, the tariffs, people getting their tax returns back, interest rates drop, maybe they start printing money. Who knows? I think Q2 is going to set up for a really, really, really big quarter. But that doesn't mean that we can't get a big rally going into the end of March. And again, who knows? Maybe they do pass the legislation. Maybe it finally hits the Senate floor or the House floor. So you just never know. It's a lot of uncertainty. But if you want to keep things simple, identify your value areas and buy when the price dips there, especially in terms of high volatility. Curious, what altcoins are you guys holding? And is there anything you guys are excited about as far as alts? Anything you would like me to take a look at? Riley Weiwei said, thoughts on 10 BPS on testnet. I'm assuming you're talking about Caspa. That's pretty big, 10 blocks per second. They just need the dApps and the ecosystem. Once they have that, scalability is not even going to be an issue. Maybe they'll announce 0% tax at US base. Yeah, that would be the next best thing for me. We get and to me, that would be a massive catalyst. Maybe not for retail right away, but I'm telling you, these large institutions, hedge funds, people that trade billions of dollars at a time, you can tell them, here's an asset class. You can stick an extra 40% in your pocket when you make money because you don't got to pay cap gains tax. That's going to be a massive catalyst, in my opinion. Nerondo. Jason Cortez said, legislation for what? They just stated they will not be purchasing any Bitcoin. Reserve. I agree, Jason. Yeah, that's what they said. But I'm saying, if you want the buying of Bitcoin, you want to be a net buyer, you got to have you need Congress to give you money, right? They have the power of the purse. The House does. So you need them to allocate some sort of money to buy Bitcoin. And you don't get that with executive order. Now, again, I'm not a political expert. I'm sure there's certain ways around getting down and finding money that was already allocated here and then reallocating it here. I'm sure there's loopholes. But if you want long lasting, the United States of America has an actual reserve that they're adding to on a scheduled basis. You need legislation. You need Congress to give you money to do so. And so until we get that, we're going to have to live with, they're not going to sell 200,000 Bitcoin, which again, everyone was expecting already. This is why we're not getting a pump. People were underwhelmed, just like the press conference they had. People were underwhelmed. And we saw a massive sellout. Big thanks to Poman, $20 super chat. Said, Dave, you guys and Crow got to have a sit down and talk Cardano. Definitely got to sit down because the dude is like 6'10". Yeah, I've met Crow a few times. Super cool dude. Yeah, you're right, man. We got to get him on the show. I think he's going to be down here for a Bitcoin Vegas. I'll bring him in the studio. IMJ said, it's true. There is no retail. Everyone is getting out of credit card debt. I agree. You know what? I still have, and I believe I still have the Fed. Here we go. Yeah. Take a look at this. Take a look at this. Delinquency rate on credit card loans, okay? Delinquency rate From 2022, from around 1.53, we got to a high of 3.24% of people are delinquent on their credit cards. We take a look at debt, not federal debt, consumer debt. Consumer debt service payments as a percent of disposable personal income. So the higher the number, the less people have disposable income. And disposable income for a majority of people is what goes into buying Bitcoin. This is, of course, retail. You and me watching, or maybe not all of you, but me personally, I don't need my disposable income to buy crypto. It's already baked into my budget. I budget X amount of money every single month to DCA into Bitcoin and some of my favorite altcoins that I plan on holding in my third bucket, my set it and forget it bucket. So to me, that's not disposable income. That is part of my budget. But 99.1% of people investing in cryptocurrency, especially altcoins and meme coins and more speculative ones, it comes from their disposable income. How much money is left over after I pay all my bills? And the retail is kind of fucked right now. They don't have a lot of disposable income. Taxes are high, or not taxes. Inflation has been high. They're spending more money on groceries. Interest rates are high. People need a new car. They got to go pay 10 to 12% interest, mortgages. So once we see rates start coming down, you'll get all the people that financed at a 7% mortgage or a 10% car loan start to refinance those, bring their monthly liabilities down, have more disposable income on top of, on the mortgage side, the people that are going to be able to cash out refinance, get a large chunk of money. And just like we saw in 2020, people got a large chunk of money and there was a shitload of money that went into the cryptocurrency markets, and Bitcoin's seeing a really nice bounce back here. Excellent bounce back. Now, it's a beautiful V-shaped recovery on the 5-minute as the markets realize they overreacted like they always do. They always overreact every time. And because the Bitcoin market is so levered to the goddamn gills, we see one hit, the next one, cascade down like a snowball that only gets bigger until eventually everyone's wiped the hell out and we start from scratch. So now, bear flag. What you want to see is this thing above 87,680. If we can close a candle above 87,680, that's your 50% Fibonacci level. Then to me, this bear flag would be invalidated and we can see this V-shaped recovery continue. If we zoom in from the 5-minute to the 30-minute, this is looking good. That's a healthy 30-minute candle. 1 hour, that's a healthy 1 hour candle. And so we'll see on the way up, though, expect to see some sort of resistance right around 88.5. And so if you just look at how the markets have been, I mean, the range we've been in, my friends, the range we've been in has been a 13% range. A 13% range on almost a $2 trillion asset over the course of 4 days. That's some volatility for you guys. And if you try to catch the knife on either side, majority of time you are going to lose unless you have really tight stop losses and you don't get greedy on your take profit levels. But again, really nice recovery, 87,192. I'm curious to know what you in the chat think. Do you think by tomorrow morning, Bitcoin will be above $90,000? Put a 1 in the chat for yes. Put a 2 in the chat for no. Will Bitcoin be above $90,000 within the next 14 hours? 1 for yes, 2 for no. I am a yes. I really am. And you guys know I try to keep it as real as possible. It's not popular to say you think there's more downside to come. People get absolutely taken to the cleaners if they even mention an opinion that's not confirmation bias for the everyday viewer. But I like to keep it real and tell you guys my thoughts. I would assume there's more downside, but the way the markets move, just like when we were up here on the way down, every single rally was no volume, lower lows, lower highs. I said I expect more downside. Which some people in our chat in the morning stream were like, you're a bear. You don't know what you're talking about. Blah, 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 blah. When we went down to 86 on this initial dump, I said we have more downside. And then we got down to 82K. This one, we got all the way down to 78K. But with the current market and how the price has reacted, right? Higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. We gave away everything we gained, but we started grinding up. We had the news, sell-off, and you see these V-shaped recoveries on the lower time frames. Even zoom into the 15-minute. You see these V-shaped recoveries on lower time frames. That tells me the market, the buyers, the bulls, they want to take control of this market. They do. It's just one bad news after one bad headline, after one bad announcement, after one bad everything, and the markets just dump. And so I honestly think by tomorrow morning when we start our live show at 11 a.m. Pacific, we're going to be above $90,000. I really do. And if we're not below 86.5. So that's kind of my thoughts. I'm curious to know what you guys think. I'm going to peek into the chat and see. A lot of ones in here. Okay. Shaddy said 2. George said 2. You guys think we're going to be under 90K? Interesting. Neopasto said 1. Machines of Time said 1. I'm seeing a lot more 1s than 2s. Billy Hamby put in like 8 1s. Frankie Finance 1. Cardonian 1. Yeah, I'm in the 1 camp, man. And Big Rob, if you're in here, my friend, what is your vote? I bet you're a 1. I would put my life on the line to say you would pick 1. Dump it before the orange clown pumps it. All right. Let's take a look at the rest of the markets here really quick. So we had again, and let me refresh this page. Let's zoom into the 24-hour. Cardano still the biggest loser over the last 24 hours. Same thing with Sonic. Let's see over the last 1 hour who's seen some nice rebound. Hyperliquid rebounded $6.60 or 6.66%. Movement. You know, I was doing a little digging into movement. Interesting. It's just got a lot of VC money, man. This is essentially a sidechain for ETH that also leverages Celestia for their for their data availability layer. And so it's a modular blockchain, meaning it's very scalable. And so interesting one. And this one's gotten a lot of hype and kind of, you know, people have been talking about it in the government circles, the Elon Musk, the World Liberty Finance. We know they started buying a bunch of this token. That is up the second biggest gainer on the, looks like the 1 hour. And then Aptos, Bitcoin Cash, Jito was having a really nice rally until the markets turn. And then ETH just cannot get out of its own way. Although I'm wearing an Ethereum shirt, you can see here. I'm trying to summon a rally here, my friends. But it seems like we can't. And on the 1 hour, we had a pretty, this wasn't even completed, right? I mean, I'm looking at, not the highlighter. I'm looking at, you know, head or shoulder, head, and then shoulder was almost getting there and then spilled to the downside. But ETH, let's take a look at ETH on the daily chart. I mean, sometimes I just sit there in silence and think, like, what? From December of last year, like, we're not even getting rallies back to the trend line, right? Let's see here. Parallel channel should break to the upside, right? A falling channel, falling wedge. Last time this happened was back in March of 24. We saw something similar, a falling channel, falling wedge, right? I guess this is more of a wedge. And we had a break to the upside. But the difference here is we kept tapping the upper end of our trend line here. And then we eventually had our breakout. Even on that big rally, guys, even on that big announcement rally of the strategic reserve I believe on Sunday, we couldn't even get to the top end of this trend line, which is $2,700. And so ETH is losing steam, man. ETH is losing steam. Price action wise, now anything can change the chart and the structure of the chart in a very short period of time. But this is, I don't know, man. The markets are not liking ETH right now. And so we'll see. Now, to be fair, a lot of this downside price action, at least over the last few days, we can go back to the Sunday, February 23rd. That is when we had the Bybit hack. And all that ETH was essentially converted, sold off, and laundered into Bitcoin. So sell pressure there, plus just the sentiment around ETH is not good. I think people are having an issue saying, okay, if it's not DeFi, if ETH's market share in DeFi is going down because Solana took some, Sonic took some, Aptos took some, Sui took some, maybe Cardano takes some, I don't know. If it's not, NFTs are dead, which was a huge factor in ETH's big rally. NFTs are dead. There's like a handful of projects that do volume, and that's it. That's out of the question. It's kind of slow, still slow and expensive, even though it's proof of stake now. Where's the value proposition and the utility for ETH? So for me, I look at it from an institutional standpoint. It's only the second ETF that is trading live on Wall Street. You got BlackRock that is leveraging Ethereum. You still have projects that are building on ETH. They still have the most devs. They still have the most liquidity as far as their foundation. I believe, actually. I could be wrong on that one. We actually looked at that earlier, but I know the ETH Foundation is selling up. But they're feeling the heat, man. I know I said this yesterday, but shaking up at the ETH Foundation, people are quitting, people are leaving. Vitalik's out here, maybe putting a suit on for the conference, which, by the way, I saw a post. Looks like the AVAX founder, Amin, is going to the White House tomorrow because he actually, let me just pull this up. So Daniel Kaufman, if you're in here, you should be happy. He posted this. This is Amin Gun-Sirer, the co-founder of Ava Labs, aka Avalanche. Time to find my suit and see if I still fit into it. So he could be going to the White House, but again, what are they going to be talking about, right? They already announced the strategic reserve and they already signed the damn EO. They signed the executive order. It's a done deal. They're not going to sell Bitcoin. What else are they going to talk about? No cap gains tax. I know it's going to be more of a roundtable. So interesting. But at the end of the day, being in that room and having the president and his advisors know who you are, meet you face to face, maybe get to pick your brain. You're on the short list. If they ever decide to do anything, you're going to be on that short list. Avalanche, Solana, maybe Ethereum, and all the other projects that are going. So we got 306 people in here, 134 likes. Make sure you like the video. We appreciate it. Kylie Dan said, sell the news. The news has already been sold, my friend. I think now might be time, not right now exactly, but to buy the rebound. And if you're bullish, and how high do you think the price is going to go? And so it looks like 85. People were happy with $85,000. They felt like that was a level. And so what did that tell you? What did that move tell you? That move told me that 85K was the level that investors felt confident with Bitcoin, with the executive order and the strategic reserve not included, not accounted for. It was $85,000, as you can see here. We do see some nice volume and a nice bounce on the RSI from the oversold. We almost hit oversold. It was 31.5 on the RSI. And so relief rally for BTC. Again, in case you joined in late, 88,479 is the next level of resistance we're looking at. But if we can take that in one candle, if we do something similar to where did we? Okay, I'm not going to spend too much time, but if we see a scenario where we gain back everything we lost on the previous hourly candle, tomorrow morning, all the people that put a 1 in the chat, 90K in the morning, I think that's going to come to fruition. And so let's see where else we're seeing some rebounds in the market here. You know what? Actually, let's go to the crypto bubbles. Haven't used those in a while. CryptoBubbles.net. Hour. All right. Hype, number 1. Movement, number 2, 4.1%. Aptos, 3.1% in the green. So you can see almost everything has turned green outside of Crow, which it was rallying, to be fair, while everything was dumping. And then on the year, something interesting too. You got Mantra, L1 for RWAs. XRP, we know what they do, 300%. But on the last 1 year, very few cryptocurrencies, very few altcoins have seen fairly big gains. So when you look at this visually, you see Avalanche down 51% over the last 1 year. What a great value. Render is 60% off. ICP is 60% off. Kronos is 45% off. And so you find this and you work your way backwards to the chart. Looks like 86.8 is where we're at currently with BTC. But yeah, how you guys feeling, man? How you guys feeling about this price action? Do a majority of you believe that this is manipulation? Do a majority of you believe that kind of what I said as far as people expecting something different from the strategic reserve? People expected net buying and we didn't get that. So we're seeing a sell-off. What do you guys think? You say Eugene said shit's about to go ham. I love ham. You know what I like? Ham, cheese, right? You do like a ham and grilled cheese sandwich. And then once you're done, you open that sucker up, put some pickles in there, some mustard. Bro, boom. Really good. 90K in the morning is the easy question. What will it be when the market closes? Okay. What will it be when the market closes? NFTs are alive on Hedera. I love Hedera, but come on, bro. NFTs are pretty damn dead. Let's look at Crypto Slam. This is cryptoslam.io. Over the last 30 days, the volume on NFTs is down 43% across the board. And if you look here, and I'm not trying to shit on Hedera here, where's Hedera? I'm a big Hedera bull, but it's not even in the top 25 on blockchain NFT sales volumes, right? You got AVAX, you got the top ones, right? You got Algorand's in here, Arbitrum, Phantom. I don't see Hedera anywhere. And so overall, sure, in the ecosystem, okay, but overall, NFTs are just dead. They are dead. Will they come back? I don't think they're going to come back in the same form that they originally enter the market in. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. And just pay attention. Who are the top ones in sales? ETH, Bitcoin, Solana. Polygon, decent. Over the last, I mean, there's not a single, outside of Algorand, over the last 30 days, there's not a single blockchain in the top 10 that was green. You got to go all the way down to number 15 as far as sales volume. So, yeah, to me, NFTs are dead. I lost so much money on NFTs. My God, if you only knew. If you guys only knew how much money I lost on NFTs. There was one mint. I paid 1 ETH to mint 2 NFTs when ETH was at like $4,200. Fucking idiot. So dumb. So dumb. But we're seeing some strength here again on BTC. Let's zoom into the 15 minutes, see what we're seeing here. Let's actually do this. Let's get a... So this is our anchored VWAP. So you see how price reacts, right, to the volume weighted average price. And so I expect fully to come back and retest 88,592, which again was that level we talked about running into resistance on the way back up. 88,479. And so when you get confluence on multiple time frames with multiple solid indicators, that's pretty good. So 88.5. Now, I would be careful. I wouldn't try to put in a short there because I think the narrative overall is shifting to bullish. I just think the markets, some traders need to be, and you see here, right? I mean, outside of one deviation, you call this a bear flag too, right? Again, this is on the daily. So potential bear flag, right? Our area where we don't want to cross, which is our invalidation zone, would be 91,288, which we got there on this candle, and then we gave it all back and came right back into this pattern. So if we can break above and close above, well, what I say, 91,211. that bear flag on the daily would be invalidated. And then we push up to that 100K level. Guys, all it takes is one actual news. And it's not just news that people are anticipating. It's news that kind of hits the market out of nowhere, where everyone's like, holy the markets are about to start pumping. And then you see what that happens. Anyways, guys, I want to thank every single one of you for tuning in. I appreciate all of you. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe, have your notification bell on. No PM stream tomorrow. Wife had a death in the family. We got to go take care of that. So I might I might get on a stream on Saturday, depending on the markets. But if we see more volatility and something happens, I got this beautiful home setup, man. I could literally, it takes me 5 minutes to turn the computer on, turn the camera on, and go live. And so you won't know unless you're subscribed and have your notification bell on. And also, if you haven't done so already, if you're a trader, join our trading competition on Buy DeFi. You'll automatically be included as long as you use the link that I just pasted in the chat. Use that link, sign up, start trading. You don't do anything special. Just trade the way you're trading now, and you'll automatically be included in our trading competition. We've already given away $600. We're giving away another $300 on Monday to the top ROI trader. And then after 4 weeks, we're on week number 3. So 2 more weeks to pay out. We're going to do cumulative best ROI. We're going to pay the top 3. We're also going to give an extra $300 to the highest volume trader. And so shout out to all of you. If you're not there on Buy DeFi in our trading competition, please join. I love you guys so much. Keep your heads up, man. Markets are overreacting. Don't be the markets and overreact. Until tomorrow. Peace.